Welcome back. Yes, we are live to talk about economy. Yes, the black economy, especially right here in the UK. I'm joined by Dean Okai, who has gone a step further to invent or sort of to establish something that's really important in the community, something that will hopefully drive our economy to where it needs to go, Solution Room. Dean, welcome on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I was going to give you a compliment that you look fabulous.
Thank you. I'll take that from
I'll leave it there. Now, the reason why I'm quite passionate about this topic today is because of what I see online, the conversations that we have online when brands use the black name in a negative way. We go online and then we say, we're going to boycott.
Yes.
And then we boycott for 2 days.
Absolutely.
And then we're back. And then we start, typing again. We're keyboard warriors. We start typing how, we should come up with this solution. We should build our own brands. We should, start our own businesses. We should start our own banks. But it's always just been talk.
It's reactionary. Look, we're the most reactionary people for a reason.
Right.
Because from our inception, we don't educate our own children. This is a choice. Everything you do is a choice.
We don't educate our children?
We don't educate our own children. We give them to minders who inculcate them with their values. I went to a state school. I didn't receive an education. I didn't receive an education until after I left school. And the entire plethora of information in an information age is open to us. So if we choose not to take advantage, it's choice. But getting back to the point of us being reactionary, we're reactionary because we have been taught to rely on everyone else. So our teachers, by and large, are European women.
Right.
Our first employers are Europeans. If you are talking about your government and your council providing solutions for you, they're Europeans. But not one of those Europeans work within your interests. So if not one of those Europeans work within your interest, where are you? I just make this point, because I said in the beginning, we are the architects of our own destiny. Now, I can be the architect of a property and employ poor contractors, yet still, I put all of those people in front of creating their little part of craft for me.
Right.
That is teachers for your children. That is those you rely on for your income, your employers who you give 30 days of your greatest resource, time, on credit, hoping that they pay you with fiat currency,
right,
which is bankrupt.
Now, I've listened so keenly. I mean, one common word that you used repeatedly was European.
Absolutely.
But this is where we are. We're not in Africa.
Are you African or European?
No, I'm African.
I'm
African, 100%.
So we know.
But we're not in Africa.
We're not in Africa. So bear with me, not to cut you. If you went to South Africa 20 years ago, what administration would you be under? Did they have any concern of their territory? No, because Europeans have a mindset of power. I am, because I say I am, wherever I go. The one thing that me and Europeans have in common is that I think exactly the same. I am because I say I am. I've had businesses since I was 18. I have relied upon myself. So I am because I say I am.
You, Dean.
Me, Dean Okai. Dean Richard Earl Okai.
Yes.
So because I know that about me, I know that we are capable of it. Now, the minute that I read Malcolm X at 17, and it gave me a particular clarity. And it closed my ears for influence from Europeans who don't work in my interests. So having that clarity from 17 and being 43 years young, I believe that I'm at a position in my life that I can share those wisdoms and that I can also give that clarity to influencers.
Now, just like yourself, I started doing business when I was 14, but this was in Africa.
I didn't start doing business at
I mean,
18.
You started at 18.
I moved out of my mother's house and I had a business at 18, relying on myself.
At 14, I knew about business. I was managing my mother's massive shop.
Yeah.
You know, I saw my mom and dad do business.
Yes.
This is in Africa. But of course, when I came to this country, I found that the narrative was different.
Absolutely.
That Africans here were called immigrants. They had nothing.
Yes.
They were nobody. And somehow, when I came to this country when I was 19, I slipped into that as well for the first 2 years. Now, I'm coming to this point where you managed to look after yourself from the age of, what, 18? And you did it. And you're an example. Now, I came to this country from a background where I knew where to find for myself. And then I came here, I slipped because of what was being said. Now, 20 years on, I'll be sitting here to blame the European.
You will never hear me blame anybody.
I'll be sitting here to say there has never been a solution for me.
Okay.
I would be sitting here to say there has never been an opportunity for me. I'll be lying because just like yourself today, I'm very proud of the things I've achieved, the businesses I've run, because I put myself in that position where I could. I refused to listen to the narrative that I was given or that I was shown, the narrative that
the most important part.
Yes. I refused. Yeah, that narrative. The first 2 years, yes, I was weak. I was like, oh, this is how it is. Then I'm going to be like that. I'm going to be like everybody else. Then I woke up. And when I woke up, I said, no. I went back to what I knew. Absolutely. This is not me. This is not us. We have to go back. So what I'm trying to say is, it's amazing that you've started a solution room. And it has to be just for solution. It cannot be for pointing out we have been stopped, we have been blocked, we have been, because we're not. Then let's not speak on that, because I don't speak on that. Yes.
So what the solution room is, it was inspired by Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics.
Right.
Because he had identified exactly what we needed to gain autonomous power. Anyway, the same kind of autonomous power you might observe in Stamford Hill. Fantastic. Where I think sometimes we struggle so much we forget what we're actually struggling for is where the case for reparations in the States burns money. I would prefer for our businesses to donate to a charity, for us to purchase commercial freehold properties to convert into schools, chambers of commerce.
Our schools.
I'm not speaking about anybody else. When I say ours, I mean African.
Yes.
There's nobody else in the equation.
No.
Because I'm not Chinese, I'm not Asian, I'm not Yiddisher, I'm not any of these things. So as an African, I merely speak to Africans about Africans and our challenges and overcoming those challenges. So if you work backwards to see what you don't have, then you put the components in place. When you make a puzzle, you don't start from the middle because you're going to get lost very quickly. The first thing you establish is the corners. The corners of a puzzle will give you the parameters of the puzzle. And then you work outward and you build that. That's a formula for success. All we are in the middle of, any challenge, is a puzzle. And then you need people who are proficient in putting puzzles together. There's no sense in speaking to lay people. You can go and speak in church halls and community centers, and what you're going to receive is what we love to... This is like Facebook likes. It's irrelevant to the cause.
Right. But how do we move away from that? How do we move away from that and see, you know, that what you're doing is really going to create an impact? Because at the moment, I don't want to be negative about it. I don't want to be pessimistic. But where are we? Where are the willing people?
The willing people. I have teams of willing people.
Yes.
Look, these aren't things to publicize. And I publicize enough because my role was to recruit expertise, which goes across solicitors, accountants, teachers, people in construction, and professionals who are proficient
Yes.
to go across all the areas of economics, media, education, justice, and politics. So, for instance, if I were talking to somebody about politics and entering local authority, I wouldn't go and speak to a layperson. I would speak to somebody who was proficient. Dwayne Brooks in Lewisham. He resigned from the Lib Dems, which is where he gained his training,
Yes.
and he's run as an independent. If you run as an independent, you're not encumbered by their party bylaws. You are there for the virtue of the borough. If we live in the borough, we're going to receive that of a virtuous candidate who is only there to improve the borough, not encumbered by this which is passed and doesn't work. How do we know it doesn't work? Because we only have to look across 35 boroughs which are Conservative, Labour or Lib Dem. Those three parties haven't worked. So we do something different. So as a think tank, we would support a candidate that we know is virtuous, who is going to go in and make a difference, because in this borough, there's high violence of our children because there's no youth engagement anymore.
Right, yes.
So you create youth engagement, automatically you counter crime. Now, when somebody has that as a virtue, not as a rhetoric, you know that will be executed. If I were talking about a financial institution that we're in the middle of incorporating now, the landscape has been democratized. Look, black, white, Asian, we have all been democratized with the same 24 hours. It's merely how you use those 24 hours.
Yes.
Now the landscape has been democratized by the digital revolution. So I have colleagues all over the globe. I was on a conference call with Nigerian agriculturalists talking about major investment so that we can have these harvests and there's a return on that investment. I couldn't have done that without the technology. So the last bastion in that digital revolution was banking. We were excluded because we had to go to people for licenses.
Right.
So now with the evolution of fintech, we're no longer encumbered with geo borders.
Right.
So we're in the middle of creating a global banking entity. Although it's not a bank, which is a legal term, it serves all of the commercial functions of a bank.
Right.
And is global with no geo borders, which connects the entirety of the continent and anywhere in the diaspora we are.
So it's a bridge between the continent and diaspora.
Absolutely.
Right. And where is, at the moment we're in the UK.
Yes, we are.
There's a government in the UK. Where does the government come in?
Government doesn't come in.
They're not coming in at all?
All financial institutions are regulated by the
Yes.
FCA. Therein, it finishes. Now, when you deal with the global territories, you deal with global governments.
Yes.
We're on our way to the African CEO Forum as a team. So then we'll meet all of the ministers and delivery partners
But the reason
for
why,
each of the territories.
The reason why I'm saying where does the government come in is because we are still under this government. Now, when you give like an example of Lewisham,
there's a reason
where
that you
there's a
asked,
lot of, there's a lot of youth crime,
Yes.
and it's almost like they've been left on
Sorry,
their
just
own.
for clarity, are we
Yes.
talking about where does the government come into a financial institution, or where does the government come in as far as we're concerned?
Now, the reason why we are now in this financial institution situation, creating our own, is because we feel like we've been left out.
No.
So we have to find for
That's
ourselves.
not why I put it together, because I had a vision. That's not why I came up
Hold
with
on
it.
to that thought. Let's go in for a break. When we do come back, Dean is going to clarify a bit more. Welcome back. Yes, we are back live with Dean Okai, the founder of Solution Ring. Yes, which might be a solution of, might find a way. We might find a way of how black people trade with each other globally. I was very careful to say that, how they trade with each other.
Absolutely.
for a reason. I said that for a reason. But then before we went in for a break,
You were asking about government.
I was asking about government because for me, I can't see myself completing this conversation and going in deep without pointing a finger. I know we always said stop pointing at fingers, stop blaming somebody, but I must say that we are part of this government. We are part of this country. And anything from,
We're
anything
citizens.
socially,
Yeah.
political, economic,
Yeah.
absolutely everything and anything must involve us too. It's like you too, me too. We have to have our own share.
Yes.
But it almost means that now we have to now remove ourselves and do our own thing because we feel like the other side has not been fair to us.
Can I ask you a question? This other side, what are they to us?
What are
We're
they
talking
to us?
about Europeans and we're talking about the government, so we're talking about the nation of the United Kingdom. Okay, so let's just take Europeans in general. Africa provides you with every food, fruit, natural or plentiful and precious metals you can go across the board. So somebody may describe this as a heaven. Your heaven was interrupted by Europeans who came from a cold, barren environment. When you're in a warm environment, although we have tribalism and we fought, this is human nature, it's territorial.
Right.
When they came to take. So now you are looking at competition. Now, if I were Pep in Man City, I wouldn't go to Mourinho to look for answers because he has none. I look at him and I respect him as my competition. So this is the same way that I look at the British government. It's the same way that I look at Europeans, because you must have a clarity to know they are competing against you. You are merely a battery for their MP3 player in your human, in your human resource. You're a battery for their MP3 player. Let me say something to you. If you think about the earth as the body complete, Africa is the heart. The heart is the most important organ in the body. The heart supplies every single organ with oxygenated blood.
Right.
Africans that have gone out into the diaspora, were they kidnapped or if they left and they came into any country by choice, are the oxygenated blood cells that build that economy. Nothing from the organs returns to the heart apart from unoxygenated blood cells, which do not benefit the heart. The heart cleans and returns, but the relationship is not reciprocal.
Right.
The heart supports all of the organs. So having that clarity, having clarity that we go as cleaners at 4 o'clock in the morning, as bankers at 9 o'clock in the morning, we are infused with every single area of industry globally.
Yes.
Which means that, number one, there's a brain drain from the continent. Number two, we hold expertise in every single area. And those who are the most proficient are the ones I always desire to work with. My role is to recruit them. I have no desire to convert anybody over to a Pan-Africanist way of thinking. For me, it's a waste of time.
Because a lot of them, it's difficult to catch them at this age.
I'm not even insulting anybody, but I have a YouTube
It's difficult to
channel.
catch them. They've already made up their minds. That
Possibly. For me, nothing is definitive. I never say that there's an end for anybody until their journey is finished. But I have a YouTube channel for that.
Yes.
Filled with propaganda and articulation. Go and study that. But my role is to recruit those who are proficient to go across media, because we need a news network and a news gathering agency which is global in its nature, just like Bloomsburg, just like News Corp, just like there is one other that evades me at the moment. So when you know this, Reuters, so when you know this, you seek those who are proficient to establish it, because we now have to take control of our own image and represent ourselves in a balanced way. Whose permission do we need to ask to do that?
Nobody's permission.
Nobody's permission. Okay.
Nobody's permission.
So in economics,
Yes.
just because you asked about government,
Yes.
once there is no legislation to tie you down, because we've been democratized by technology, let's not limit ourselves and have these conversations anymore.
No.
Any questions that are benign, let's leave them in the past, because armed with new information, we make new decisions, and that's how we evolve. But as long as we keep discussing these things, it's like going over history. This one talks about Malcolm X for days and weeks and months. This one talks about Garvey for days and weeks and months.
Yes.
I'm interested in 21st century Garveyism, and I'm not a historian.
Leave the Garveys behind.
No, not leave Garveyism behind. Garvey set up the world's most successful Pan-Africanist movement. However, I'm interested in 21st century Garveyism, because now we move
Times have
forward
moved.
based on the fact that the landscape has been democratized by the digital revolution.
Yes.
So now it's incumbent on us to utilize that technology and execute the full potential of it in connecting all of us as a diaspora globally. So since there is nothing in our way, there are no objects in our way, who are we talking to other than those who are most proficient?
Know.
I do.
I don't know what you mean, but they're not objects in our way. Because if
I'll
we have to
explain.
be bridging diaspora and Africa itself,
Yes.
now I think even Europe is better.
Better
The
than
bridge, in terms of bridging the gap,
at what?
bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy.
Now, going to Africa
Yes.
to start setting up and to start doing, you know, all these things that are going to drive us economically, give us power. It is now even more difficult to do that there than it is here.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
politically and
So-
all that, you know, because
so
obviously
politically-
we've almost left, even in Africa, we've almost left everything to politicians.
Okay, fantastic.
So how do we, you know, this solution room, how is it going to ensure
Yes.
that whatever that you're creating is not sabotage, does not hit iceberg because of the political bureaucracy in Africa, which we cannot say is not there. It is
Okay.
there.
It's there.
As I speak now,
Absolutely, it's there.
I know friends who have come back because they went there to set up businesses, set up entities that
Yes.
were actually going to create employment for people there.
Yes.
But it was just completely impossible.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So now we're looking for solutions. So every step, every journey starts with the first step.
Right.
So as we look at Africa, Ghana, for me, is the first state that we desire to make allegiance with, because it's a domino state. So the first thing for me is looking at, is it a progressive government? Absolutely.
Yes.
So then
We
I
look
look
at
at
the
Nana
government.
Akufo-Addo,
Yes, yeah.
and I say what? I desire to work with him and his administration. Why? Because the first thing he said is he desires to see full banking for every Ghanaian citizen. I also desire that. I desire to see it for the entire African diaspora. However, what I do know is that since you have an objective, we come there with a remit to fulfill your objective. No matter how rural the people are, as long as they have access to mobile phones, they will have access now
You can
to
reach them.
digital
Yes.
banking. So for business accounts, we will supply business accounts.
Yes.
So for consumer accounts, we will supply them. For children's accounts, Diamond Enterprise accounts, which is also aligned with an African educational curriculum, which is heavy on financial literacy. So Kay Johnston set up the Diamond Enterprise School, who I work with. Now that is Windows 7 in a box ready to go, which is an African educational curriculum. We would also discuss that with Nana Akufo-Addo's administration. These things go hand in hand. And then we start to see an end to colonial education that wipes our minds. But to get back to how we work with Africa, the team for Anansi Money, the financial institute that we are setting up, is going to the African CEO Forum in March,
All right.
where we meet
Fantastic.
finance ministers, business executives who are delivery partners for the continent of Africa. I'm not an ideologist. You go back to Africa as an ideologist, you are food.
Yeah. So from what I'm getting from you, Dean, so Solution Room, your core mission is financial literacy.
No.
For everyone.
No.
For everyone from starting
it's
from...
Not. It's not. Look, when you deal with a people, you must deal with them holistically. So the areas are education. This is from our inception. This is how we circumvent where we are today for future generations. We start with an African-centered educational curriculum.
So that's mission number one.
Mission
education.
number one. No, unfortunately, look, there is no mission number one. These projects happen concurrently.
Yeah.
So
but they have to be like core missions.
So they are all core missions in each of the areas. So all I am is a project manager.
Yes.
Who recruits exceptional teams to execute the objectives of the areas. So that is education, which is where we have Windows 7 ready to go. We have a number of education professionals who will also inform that process, evolving into Windows 8, Windows 9, Windows 10. And that's just to give you an idea. Because what we think we have to do is take a proposition, wait until it's perfect, we tweak it. No, that's Windows 7. It evolves. I'll let you in on a secret.
We don't have to wait
for it. The national curriculum within Great Britain is also evolving, yet it is out there. But this is not an educational curriculum, it's an indoctrination curriculum, because an education works for you and an indoctrination works for somebody else. And this is how we keep the status quo of supplying cogs in a wheel that keep you 30 days in credit of your greatest human resource, your time. So, to the point of all the areas, education, we need to control that ourselves, and we will. But when we have a financial institution, the money that we take on reserve gives birth to all of these projects.
Right.
So when you have your chambers of commerce, because you've purchased these buildings, you appeal directly to African businesses to donate what would be taxable income to a charity, and then you purchase more buildings. So you come to dominate all of our stronghold boroughs. Lewisham, we are not ethnic minorities. Lambeth, Southwark, Tottenham, where you reside now, you're well aware, we're not ethnic minorities. And Croydon. So you work in these stronghold boroughs.
Majority.
We're majority.
We're majority.
So you appeal to those with the money. You take the money, which is in UK legislation, to donate to a charity. The money from that charity goes into escrow, and we purchase buildings.
So the money that you're supposed to be paying the government as tax is what you put back into charity.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
So to speak on UK legislation,
yes.
When you have a business, what limitation is there on your charitable donation? None. You can donate as much money to charity as you like. Now, if you purchase something, which is why, just to give you, we're just going to talk about pure business for 30 seconds.
Yes.
So Mike Ashley has Sports Direct. Sports Direct is one of the greatest businesses in the country.
Yes.
So you look at more than 300 physical branches, the greatest website within the UK outside of what ASOS is telling people. You make so much cash, you have to get rid of the cash. So what you saw in the recession was Mike Ashley's corporations purchase everything that went up in the air and went bust. Every time you make a purchase, you don't make profit.
No.
You make a loss, and then you cannot be taxed. So it's either one or two things you do. Either you're going to pay tax, or you're going to make a loss. Now, the same way you can buy a business or an asset for your business, you can make a charitable donation, which means you don't make profit.
And this is what we're encouraging the black community.
Fantastic.
To now put back into the community.
Absolutely.
And then that means that the money is going round.
Mark,
right.
Which is investors in community. So either you could be an investor in community for your community and be recognized by your community by carrying an investors in community kite mark, or you could give it to British government, who is your competition.
I think we have only like 2 minutes left, but I really wanted to ask you this.
Absolutely.
So does this mean that Solution Room is encouraging black businesses, you know, to set up, but also encouraging black people to buy black? Is that, are you encouraging that, or are you we also expecting the other community to come in and buy from us, because essentially we've been buying from them. So is
I
it
have
open?
a shop.
Yes. So
My
it's
shop
not,
is open right now. Everybody shops there.
yes.
So I don't need this. See,
So
for me,
we're not
these are
encouraging-
benign. These
yes.
are benign questions.
Yes.
I have a shop. I serve everybody.
Yes.
All day. So these
But
are
it's just that
benign
you're
questions
saying,
for me.
please, black people,
I'm not
own
talking
businesses.
to
Yes.
anybody else other
Yes.
than us. You're an
Yes.
African, I'm an African. So I'm merely
Yes.
talking to us about solutions. Look, if you open a business which is serving a purpose,
Yes.
everybody will come because you do it well and your service is great.
Well, we've run out of time. I think we have to carry on this conversation, Dean.
Most definitely.
It's
Thanks
quite
for having me.
interesting, very educative. Even I've been learning as well from you. So thank you very much for coming
Thank you.
here today.
Great to
well
meet you.
done. And you know what? I'm not even putting 5 years to it. 2 years, there will be a change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's Dean, guys. If you do want to get in contact with Dean, the information are on the screen, or you can find him on social media, Dean Okai. He's very active, and when it comes to matters about the black community, he's there. So please do join him, and I'm sure he's going to be having some educative events that we should attend as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and until next time, keep it locked on Benta Vision. Goodbye.